hot topic for everyone at the moment is incomings and outgoings. And we're all reading speculation. And it's always your line, which I always adopt. Anyone who tells you they're lying or tells you they know, sorry, they are lying. No one knows. We're all just speculating, having a chat in this regard. But this bit of big decisions, as it says on the screen there, for those who can't see it, as certain as can be this summer. So we're going to talk about how certain we feel in terms of who'll be staying, who'll be going, who's the maybes, and who's like, I won't bet anything on those. So the first bit, and I'm always going to put it to you a little bit of my thoughts, Trev, for this. Who's almost you would bet serious money they're in the departure lounge? Now, for me, in terms of first team players, I think Darwin Núñez feels like it would be an absolute miracle beyond belief if he's at Anfield next season for all the reports, everything we're hearing, everything we've seen and we've talked about. Sad to say, but we've got to link back to the contracts. I'm now astonished if Trent Alexander-Arnold is at Anfield this season as well. So they're my two big first teamers. There's a raft of what I would call squad players that I expect Tsimikas to depart for obvious reasons because Andy Robbo, God bless him, is still well ahead of him in the pecking order. Tyler Morton, those types of players, Endo possibly. And I'm pretty sure that if Cody Gakpo was a cat on Tuesday night, we'd have called in a taxidermist and, to be fair, stuffed and had him mounted. And yet Federico Chiesa still couldn't get minutes ahead of a practically dead Cody Gakpo. So I'm astonished beyond belief if he's there next season. How are you feeling about those names in terms of certain or confident feeling they will depart this summer?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of through line between your thoughts and mine on that one. And again, on Raw, immediately after the PSG exit, I was sort of thinking, we could be looking at a major overhaul here, because it just feels like, irrespective of whether Darwin goes on a raging run and gets 10 or 15 goals between now and the end of the season, I don't think it matters. I think the damage has been done because he's one of those guys who reads social media. He's aware of the absolute imbeciles who have been saying horrible things to him, and he's also aware of the fact that he has very much underperformed for what the expectation levels are of someone who costs as much money as him. Whether that's fair or not is someone else's argument to have. I don't really care. I'm just saying that that's what it appears to be to me. I think Darwin's absolutely out the gate, and the main reason for that is he will bring money in. I think Luis Diaz has been looking to go for a long time. The constant rumors that his old man was putting out back in the day, I think he would move the drop of a hat, and he will be thinking, because he's not on the biggest money at the club or anything, he will be thinking, well, okay, pay me a really good contract and I'll stay around here, or else I'm off. I wouldn't be surprised, and people might think this is madness, but I wouldn't be surprised to see both of those guys take the bag off the Saudi boys. So that's that. Jota is another one I have to factor in here. And it's mainly because I think people, if these guys who are running the show now are as ruthless as we're told, they're going to see, well, this is going to be our last chance to get some money for this guy. And maybe the amount of money we could get for him will get in someone who is more available, even if they are an up-and-comer. So I think all of those are up for grabs. And of course, that doesn't mention Mo Salah, who's the fella that we started talking about a few minutes ago. Now, so you see where I'm going with this overall thing. Let's have a look at the midfield. The four guys who came in, I don't think anyone moves. However, Harvey Elliott looks like he could go. Harvey's not getting the minutes. I don't think he's likely to get the minutes. I don't think he seems to be that kind of spare part who's going to come in and do Curtis Jones type things as far as Arne is concerned so far. Again, our money boys will be going, well, I'll tell you what, a lot of people like him, a lot of people rate him. He could bring in some money, so could Tyler Morton. So there could be a midfielder bought for the two of them together. Someone really good, maybe even a Baliba type. And then in defense, we've just been talking about Van Dijk and Konate. I can't even allow myself to think that those guys aren't going to be at the club. But the reality of it is that our highest profile defender, who's Trent Alexander-Arnold, high profile because he's the most desired commodity we have, he is likely to go, I think. Because again, if I'm listening to what Virgil is saying all the way through and what Mo is saying all the way through and trying to interpret that and say, these guys seem frustrated, I think they would like to stay, Trent says nothing.
No.
Nothing. And so why would you not do that? Why would you not say, I'm going to put my Scouse brethren at rest and say, listen, I just want to get this done. I'm sure myself and the club will come to some arrangement. Not a word. Nothing. Instead, we get his brother coming out with Trent McManaman. So, Dave, it's all up for grabs, buddy. And the left back thing speaks for itself. There could be a 6 or 7 player overhaul. And I think I like your theory that these guys are going to back themselves to galaxy brain the shit out of a new squad. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen.
Yeah, it is crazy to think those numbers. I mean, look at the numbers that are coming in the chat panels. I know you can see Trev came out mentioning Slot sold 17 players in his second season at Feyenoord. Can't maybe see that many departing, but it may well be a part of his appointment in the first place, thinking if we do go for an overhaul, this is a guy who's used to doing it. I don't think you can debate that. Andy, you've got up to 20 leaving. I'm not sure it's that many. I think everyone would be quite alarmed. There's the exodus beyond belief there. Interesting, yes, and names coming in as well. I suppose, is there a worry for you? As much as we say like that they galaxy brain it, and this is how I sort of put it in, because there's a few maybes as well there. When we didn't even mention Joe Gomez, the question marks over Alisson Becker still as well. There's so many more. Is there a worry for you though that you fancy we're going to win the league, barring absolute disaster? That's where you want to go again almost, because you're thinking, yes, City are going through a bit of a transition period. Lego head still there. All the best teams, as we've said before, they keep the best players and they fortify from that position of strength. We've talked about that on the transfer show so many times. That does not translate to 10 or 11 departing and 7 or 8 coming in. That sort of transition or that churn, if you want to call it that, does it?
Yeah, I was listening to Young Hendrick talk yesterday, I think it was yesterday. I get my days mixed up. And I was kind of laughing to myself because he said something that I literally said to a colleague of mine earlier on a couple hours previously. And the gist of it was, we want this to become a period of extended success.
Yeah.
Not a title, another 4 years, another title. No, we want to go and roll into a period where we don't just come back at United, but we cruise away the hell from them and from City and that kind of thing. And if you don't want that or you don't think that's possible, I kind of question why you're in it. And that's what I'm in it for. And I think that could be possible. But if, and I like K-Mac's comment about is the dinner lady safe, or the chicken staff, as Luis Suarez once called them, that it really does feel, that's what I said right back at the top of the show, it feels like we're standing on shifting sands right now.
Yeah.
And you alluded even to the backroom big boys whose names we know are changing roles. That's going to really upset a lot of people who've placed a lot of store in them in role X or role Y. So now when you've got so many members of the staff up for grabs as well, to me, man, it just feels a little bit, how do you roll into a back-to-back leagues if you replace that many players? Now, I do think you could replace up to 6 or 7 and continue to roll along because the midfield unit would stay the same. The trio at the back could stay the same. You hang on to Mo Salah. It doesn't matter who plays with him. If there are upgrades, it's even better. So I think we can do it that way. But if those key pieces start going as well, forget about it.
Yeah. And also, I think we've talked about this. If we want to rebuild on whatever level, at whatever speed, or whatever progress, those players coming in will naturally be looking at, who am I playing with? Who's going to be there? Am I going to win trophies at Liverpool? And we all obviously want to play for this club more than anything, but you have to think of it from that player's perspective. Those people they're trying to bring in will want to know, like, am I going to be playing with Van Dijk, Salah, Trent? What are the plans? How do you see it all? So that will come into the mix as well. And I mean, people even see in there, Helio Matthias mentioning Doak and Bajcetic. It may well been fringe players, as we call them, or youngsters moving on to raise money for the coffers, I'd suspect as well, Helior. And incomings, Trev, because we love the transfer show. We love talking about incomings and different bits. It's what we love doing. That question's on the screen there, as certain as can be this summer. And as I'm asking you this, please don't think this means they're definitely going to be doing the Axeline. They're 100% nailed on to wear a numbered shirt. This is more about, are we certain these players are definitive targets for Liverpool? And there's two names I'm going to put to you because they just keep coming up. And by the way, from journalists of all different natures, because someone's going to say on the screen, hold on, you've got Mr. Romano's name, and that will split the group, no two ways about it. But just to be clear, various patch journalists and Mr. Ornstein have also named these two players specifically. So, Trev, two players that they seem the hottest names, for want of a better phrase. Milos Kerkez and Newcastle's Alexander Isak. What do you think where you hear those two?
The Isak one, I kept at arm's length, but it wouldn't go away. And the reason I kept it at arm's length had nothing to do with him as a player or his profile or his age or anything like that. It had everything, because he's actually perfect, because he's literally out of the box, good to go, years ahead of him still. What put me off was what we were told the required fee would be, and I just don't see a world in where we pay that. And here's the thing that's worth saying here, Dave. You and I have done umpteen transfer shows, and it's a sad reality now that when people talk about transfers for Liverpool, they're doing sums in their head, mate. They're doing plus columns and minus columns. I just did it a second ago without even being aware I was doing it. I was like, who do we have to sell so that we can have X amount, so we can place X amount against this player? There's no talk of an excessive budget apart from that. There's no talk about sales plus 200 million or anything of that stuff that used to be the thing that you would hear. We used to hear about war chests and stuff. We have been beaten down by this process that we've become so used to be aware that there will be no purchases unless the sales can pay for them. So that's wild. And if you do the sums on Alexander Isak's reported fee, that's a lot of sales, buddy. That's a lot of sales. We'd be doing very well to get him for the money we'd sell Diaz and Nunez for.
Yeah.
So that's that one. I would love it. Likelihood, I don't think, because of the money. Kerkez is one of those ones you mentioned in your notes earlier on. Does it feel a bit like a McAllister thing?
Yeah.
That's where I would be leaning as well. And that's why I thought maybe something like a Baliba as well. These names that we get linked with, but Kerkez just won't go away. Now, we also have to admit, the likes of old Pornstein have very much dirtied their bib with bad stories, incorrect information that we all got excited about, like Kavicha, for example, in recent times. So let's not get too giddy about that, but about the fact that they're involved and so is Romano or whatever. But I think it's clearly a need. So he seems to fit the bill. If it was a betting man, I'd put a little bit of money on Kerkez being a red. But the other one, I don't see any reality to it, Dave, because of the money. I'll be honest. I just don't see it.
Yeah, it's a funny one, Isak. In terms of, like you say, there's the fee. I mean, if we go with, as you say, the pro column, goals ready-made, all that, absolutely. There's no doubts why we'd be buying Isak if we can get him. However, the words you said, if we can get him, if Newcastle get Champions League football, that feels very difficult. That almost feels like the first hurdle that has to be overcome. Them not getting Champions League football and him saying, I want to go. Because that's the only way I could see a possible price lowering if the player's forcing out and saying, I want to be there. Then you get the other problem, as some people will say, well, that could force an auction. And we don't like auctions. We don't like paying money, particularly at FSG, Liverpool Football Club, do we? So there's that in the mix. Yeah, there's just so many things. And the other thing that I wanted to ask you to kind of finish this section, that almost to stray into the transfer show, there's a couple of things here, because we'll have a transfer show coming in the not too distant future, people. But the names it's important to talk about. Is there a fear for you, Trev, that if what we would call an elite striker, a top name striker, heads to Anfield this summer, or is being prepared or suited to head to Anfield this season, it would mean that it's possibly on the basis that the powers that be are looking at Mo Salah departing and a change? Because you have to be honest, right now where we are, centre forward is not central to Liverpool's attacking system, is it? We've seen Nunez, Jota rotate. Is there a concern for you that if it is an Isak or an elite nine, a question mark around Mo Salah at all?
Well, that was my worry the summer before last and last summer, that if any of these reported rumors were true, that maybe that means Mo's off. But now it's not just that Mo's off. Most people have decided to cash in their chips on Darwin, and an awful lot of heads are turning on Jota as well, just because of the availability thing. So now it's a far more complicated thing than that. And it's not just Mo Salah who can bring in money either, if we're being honest. And when you include those other three lads too, of Jota, Diaz, and Nunez. And it is. Look, it's very, very tempting. There was a commenter there earlier on mentioned something about it's the FSG policy not to buy young up and coming players. But I will say to you, look, for example, at the transformative Alisson Becker. Look at the transformative Virgil van Dijk. We have the two best, possibly the two best signings, or two of the best signings that we've ever made. Certainly transformative, and also very much in that established stage of the career. So it's not like we don't have form for doing that, or it's a blanket uniform policy we always have to go for. And it really will depend, Dave, on how galaxy brain they're going here, how many people are heading for the exit. That's really what it comes down to. It feels to me like there's maybe the shifting sands behind the scenes could possibly explain the contract situation. And maybe now that has been sorted, they'll be sorted. Again, I'm clutching at straws here, buddy, but it feels to me like in terms of certainty, we know that we're the positions that we need, but we have a history of not addressing that, or chasing a lad for the entire summer and not apparently having a backup lad. So I think I'm understandably wary and a little bit cynical, and I never, and you know this, buddy, I never bought into the whole the return of the Messiah thing. That I'm not a revenge of the nerds boy. If they do well, I will be the first to praise them, but I can't invest that much faith in them that other people have. And by the way, they better start earning it soon, because it's not going great, apart from the big one they did call, credit where it's due, is the coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that's the immediate positive, which hopefully we're going to see on Sunday. But at the same time, that does not guarantee anything for the summer. And I suppose the one final thing I do want to finish on, we are going to be busy, you feel, this summer, aren't we, for the transfer show? It's felt like the last year, 18 months, it's almost like just prodding them with a stick, going, do something, please. And not an injury-prone Italian winger for 10 million quid and file it under opportunistic, do something proper. It actually feels like they're maybe going to have to, because of what's going out the door, doesn't it?
They are going to have to. This squad is going to change, and I think it's going to change in a big way. And it's no criticism of lads who will hopefully get us to a league title. I like all of these players, and that's the great joy of the Jurgen era. We've recruited good lads, and I don't want to see the back of any of them. I'm not one of these people who's like, get that lad out, or Nunez is useless. I can't operate that way. I don't think that way. I would love for him still to have some sort of a redemption arc. I just don't think it's realistic at this stage. So in terms of hoping that it's going to just come right, I don't see that. So I think there will be change, and I think it's going to be on a scale that you and I aren't familiar with, buddy. Wow. Because now, to be fair, we had the wonderful 4 midfielders summer, and to be fair, they've all really contributed tremendously, and they're great lads, and love all of them. Endo, Mac, Shota, and Dom. Fantastic. Let's do that to the forward line, but can we keep Mo? And let's do that to the back line, but can we keep Virgil? That's where I'm at with this.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that complicated. If only it was that simple, but we will have to see. There we go, people. When you think about it, you will all see the Carabao final as either big or not. You will choose how much it means to you on Sunday. Contracts, judging by the chat panel, there's only about 8,642 of you concerned watching the show. So I think we all share in that sentiment. And with this summer, what are we certain of? It feels big. That's the big umbrella word I'm going to put around it. A big summer, whether we like it or not, there will be a lot happening. But before we get to the summer, before we have to talk about all the things happening, all it leads me to say immediately is, Trev, for the full reversal role, for taking the time, for the analysis, and for sharing all your thoughts on big decisions, it is much appreciated, sir.
Thanks, buddy. A joy, as always. Love these chats. Always have. It's a good dynamic. Can't wait to get back to transfer shows. I'm looking forward to having something to actually talk about this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And on Thursday, the 13th of March, that was another big decisions for Anfield Index.